Good evening and welcome to the school committee meeting of Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Once again, coming to you remotely. First order of business this evening is approval of minutes, and we do have two sets of minutes in our packet tonight, both from September 2nd. The first is the business meeting minutes. The second is the executive session meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve. So moved.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Second by Maya. Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Great. Dr. Thompson, do we have any correspondence this evening?
We do not, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Dave Catania, you had said there's no signed warrants, correct?
No warrants this week, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So moving right along to public forum, as a reminder to the community of the way that we are handling public forum right now is that you can email us at npsschoolcommittee@nord.k12.ma.us. I'm going to check that email address at this time. And currently I only see one email to be read at public forum. So I'm going to read that now, but if anybody has other things they would like to have shared at public forum, you can email us and it will be read at our next meeting, which will be on September 23rd. So tonight's public forum email dated yesterday, September 8th, is addressed to myself, the school committee, and Dr. Thompson. It says, I am writing this letter as a follow-up of my previous August 7th, 2020 letter regarding advocating for NORD Extended Day Program. As a parent who is a nurse practitioner with 2 children in NPS, I wanted to continue to advocate for NORD Extended Day. Currently, I know that my children will be in the Gold cohort, attending the Callahan Elementary School in person on Thursdays and Fridays. However, what has still not been determined to my knowledge is if Extended Day will be granted approval for after-school services at the individual school sites, as well as opening of the Savage Center on the remote learning days. As a healthcare professional that cannot work from home, my family relies on NORD Extended Day services. I know that COVID has changed the landscape for planning of services, but please remember that childcare is essential when planning for how schools will function. As a parent, what is also not clear is if Extended Day is part of the NPS umbrella, and does that include budget plans as well? I know that COVID unfortunately has increased prices for many traditional services, but I am hopeful that NPS will be considerate in the pricing for Extended Day services. Extended Day is vital to the NORD community, and it behooves every member of the school committee, both those with and without children, to really make concrete plans for Extended Day in the school plans. It is challenging as parents to try to make childcare plans when we are not even sure what, if any, options will be available and the cost for childcare services. It is my hope that this letter will raise some poignant questions that will be answered during tonight's school committee meeting. My family has benefited tremendously from Extended Day. Our twins went to the summer program the entire summer, and they loved it. The summer program allowed them to just be kids again while being safe, of course. It is our hope that Dr. Thompson and the entire NORD School Committee really addresses childcare needs through Extended Day more concretely and timely to allow families to try to make plans. I know that there are many details when planning for services, but hope that the school committee strongly considers the role that NORD Extended Day plays for not only my family, but countless others. Thank you for your time and consideration. Kind regards, Chiboza Nausu, and she shared that her email address is her physical address is 73 Monroe Street in Norwood. Just going to refresh that email address to make sure that nothing else came in for tonight as I was reading that to you. And I do not see anything, so at this time at 7:09, I am going to declare public forum closed. So now moving along, Dr. Thompson, do we have any announcements this evening?
We do, Chair.
We do not, you said?
Do not, no.
Okay. So moving right along to appearances, which is actually the topic of Extended Day, as is on our agenda. Director Capizio is here with us again this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you have some update proposals and an update on the hard work from the last time that we've seen you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Hopefully this is my last appearance for a while. That would be a blessing. So I do have some updates regarding the proposals that I put forth just about 2 weeks ago, the meeting that you had at the end of August, I believe it was. And so we're just going to go through the operations logistics updates regarding my conversations with the public school principals. And then Dave and Karen are going to chime in as well because they've been working hard behind the scenes. So I hope to have the ability to go through all of the slides. So if it's okay with you, if you could kind of put your questions, and bookmark them along the way, and then at the end we can go back and review anything that you want to see again. With that, I will go ahead and share my screen. If I should know by now. I know now. There we go.
Don't worry, I still don't screen for it. I still have Dr. Thompson do it for me.
Yeah, and it is tough because every single medium does a little bit differently. So.
Yeah.
Oh, I gotta click it and then click it. Got it. Okay. So I should be sharing now. Please let me know if you can see what I see.
It's opening up. Okay,
oh, wonderful. Okay, great. That's good news. Oh, and I'm not at the. Okay, so wonderful. So just so you guys are aware, when I have, and I know if you present, I can't see myself on the screen here, so I'm just going to go through, and there's no way for me to read or gauge the responses, so I'm just going to go through the material, and then I'll be able to shut the presentation down, and we can talk from there.
Sounds good, Chris.
So again, just a review of the after-school program. Oh, I'm sorry?
Nope.
Say that again, please.
No, you're good.
You're good.
Okay. Thank you. So moving forward then with the operations and logistics, we discussed in detail during the last meeting a little bit more about what we were intending to do, the after-school program, and in fact the remote learning support that I will present later are for students who are enrolled in the hybrid program only. We anticipate with the after-school program operating from 3 to 5 p.m. At all 6 schools, and that's on the Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday only groups or blocks, the blue and the gold groups. Because hybrid does not start fully remote does not start fully until 9/28. That is when we anticipate our program starting. So that's just about 2 weeks from now. It would be open to all grades, so respective to the school. So all of the 1st through 5th graders at all locations, and of course at the Willett, all of the kindergarten students. The design and the layout is really specific to the school and my collaboration and our collaboration with the school leaders. And so how students go to and from the classroom, who is stationed where to ensure safe passage, is really based on specific conversations with our school leaders, which I have had and am having at this time. Students will primarily occupy the cafeteria. At some of our locations, they may have access to the music room. Other locations, it may be the library. Other locations, it'll be the gym. Some locations, no gym at all. So again, it's very nuanced. It's very much based on, that collaboration piece. And parent pickup, again, will be outside. We're not looking to bring any additional traffic into the building. And then, of course, all students will be expected, and parents as well, to wear masks during any exchanges with our staff and students at pickup time. Going into the budget here for the after-school program, we realized with the amount of new fees related to offsetting the number of really kind of extensive cleaning requirements for our program, that the only way to operate would be to increase the hourly rate, 75 cents. That 75 cents is going to allow us to have a custodian at each of the sites who will be available during that 3-hour period. We'll only be open for 2, but they will be there for 3 hours to ensure sanitization, to clean up any spills, any kind of access issues we might have. So it's really essential that we have someone there that's designated to support the program during that time. And we would only be able to operate if we increased our fees by 75 cents per hour. We're looking at breaking just about even here with about 143 students across all sites. So that basically looks like, a little under 40 students per site. Here is the estimated revenue, just about 76 weekly, and the expenditure is just about 71. So it's a very thin margin there. there's not too much. You can see, oh, pardon me. You can see a profit and loss of just about 400 a week, with a total in the month of about 1,600. Again, with programs such as these, we really do need to have a little bit of a buffer for unexpected costs, for emergency situations. And so, you know, our weekly profit loss and our monthly, especially for the after school program, I feel is it's small, but it's enough. You know, it's substantial enough. Actually, before I move forward, just because I'm bringing up the concept here of the rate increase, Karen or Dave, do you want to contribute anything at this time?
Yeah. So just we got an echo going on. If everyone could just quickly mute when I talk, I don't know why I'm not. Yeah, basically, when we originally ran these numbers, we were looking at an increase of $1.25 to $6.25 an hour. I did reach out to the town and to our town manager, Tony Mizuko, and he was willing and able to cover some of our custodial costs, because custodial costs are one of the big expenditures in this budget. We have to increase the number of cleaning, the staffing to do the cleaning after the kids leave, and before the after-school program starts in the cafeteria. So he was willing to cover half of those costs, which then dropped our COVID supplemental fee, if you will, from $1.25 to 75 cents for the program. We will, I mean, this money is only with us until the end of December. We will have to reassess depending, but a lot might change between now and then, including possibly a new bill out of the federal government. Or some other funding source that might come forth. But we're hoping that you will approve a 75% increase simply for the COVID costs associated with trying to run this program. So I'll put it back to Mrs. Capizio.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So and then as Dr. Thompson noted, you know, we really have to operate in short legs here. We cannot plan for the year. There's no way to really do that in the conditions that we're operating in at present. And so this budget is really until, you know, for us until the end of term. You know, we need to see what happens at the end of term, how our enrollment transitions and how really conditions socially change, and then we can, you know, so as we approach November, we can really start to evaluate, okay, how is this working? Is it working? And what do we need to do to make sure that it'll be maintained? So this is, we're looking at about, I'm sorry?
I wasn't sure if that was me with the echo.
Is there still an echo?
Karen, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just to mention that when we reevaluate in December, if the enrollment is higher than what we're looking at when we're working on these rates, then that might help us if that help ends in December to sustain this rate going forward for the rest of the year.
Right. That's a good point. Okay, thank you. So the remote learning support services, this is something that we discussed as well just about 2 weeks back. We are looking at starting on Monday, September 21st. That is when remote initiates. Again, this is only for hybrid students, hybrid enrollees. We're looking at an 8:30 to 3:30 daily. Originally, that was 8:30 to 2:30, but we recognize that that doesn't really help our teachers. We have a lot of teachers both working in the district and also teacher parents who are working around the district. And so it sort of belied the purpose of serving our teachers if we ended before they can actually utilize the service. So so for now, we're looking at the 8:30 to 3:30 daily at the Savage Center. We would open registration for this. So with the after school program, we don't need to open registration again. We're going to configure based on our current enrollees. But since this is a new program, we would be opening registration for this following this meeting, pending the results. And there would be no registration fee for existing families. And then as you know, per the feedback that I received from Ms. Reese at Town Hall, our public health director, that at our remote learning support, basically Balch, Cleveland, Callahan, Prescott, Oldham, and Willett would all be grouped separately. So Balch students would be together, Cleveland students would be together, Callahan, Prescott, and so forth. So we would have no intermixing of students from different schools. Here is a little bit of what our numbers would look like and kind of a day in the life. So under typical conditions, the rooms that we have available at the Savage would ideally fit anywhere between 12 and 26 students. Based on the configuration and based on the requirement to meet the 6-foot barrier between each table that we put out, we can only accommodate 46 students at present at the Savage Center. And so originally we did think that we were going to be able to accommodate 60, but our facilities director did go in, he measured everything out, and he said, unfortunately, based on the way that the rooms are designed and the tables that we have in there, and just really the amount of space in each of the rooms, these are the numbers that we were able to accommodate. And so it looks like 6 and 213, 4 and 214A, that's a much smaller room. In 211, we can accommodate 6. So, unfortunately, not the best news, but we have to do this in a way that's safe, and we have to serve as many families as we can in the way that they can be best served right now. And that means following this protocol. On the right there, or my right, maybe left if I switched around, you'll see the blue cohort schedule. So really, this is just a sample of what a day in the life would look like for one of the kids who was enrolled in our remote learning support. They would come in at drop off. They would have their own door designated to their classroom. They'd have some time to sit at the table, just decompress for a sec, have some free play items out right at their space. So that could be like a little Lego pack, or that could be some drawing materials. Right at 9 o'clock, their online morning routine starts. So we help students to prepare, get them ready for their online learning, make sure they have everything set up, make sure they have their headphones plugged in, that they're connected to the internet, which we'll discuss a little bit later, how that's being addressed. And then our teachers will have the daily schedule for each of the cohorts, and we'll be, we're serving Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, so everyone in blue, everyone in gold, ideally would have roughly the same schedule. And so we have our morning routine, a literacy block, science. Then they have a break. We can get them outside, have some outdoor recreation, let them stretch, let them run, come in, have some lunch, socially distanced. They have a math block, a special block. If that special block is independent work, then that means they may have some time again that's free to free play or to work on something at that specific location where they're sitting. Some more outdoor free play and recreation at the end of the day. Then we clean up, pack up all their stuff, make sure they have their technology ready, and then pick up again as outside. Parents come to the door to pick up their kids. So that's the sort of day in the life. And again, it's a little bit, the mirror is somewhat similar to our summer program in that, we do have structured time within the day. Students have expectations as to where they are supposed to be in certain periods, and teachers follow a schedule. So here are just a couple of photos of the rooms that we're operating with. These are our rooms, some of our rooms upstairs and some of our rooms downstairs. You can see there's a lot of space at the Savage Center. We can take a lot of these tables and chairs and move them out substantially, especially with only serving 6 or 8 students in a classroom. So we're feeling very confidently that based on the number of rooms we have, the number of tables and the number of chairs, that we can adequately serve the 46 students that we've been told we're able to permit enrollment. And again, with the budget, we're looking at the $5.75 hourly rate. So this is just consistent across the board. The extra 75 cents is going to help us to offset the custodial fees and also help us with our own support of materials and supplies, our own support of cleaning materials. We need those things as well in our program. And these amounts, the material amount is more. We are looking at a profit and loss here of just about 413. So, fairly close to breaking even if you combine that with the other program. Our revenue is about $8,300 per week, with our expenditure being about $8,700. So again, combining the two programs, the two together are financially self-sustaining. In the weeks ahead, so here's what's coming up. On Monday at 10:30, I have a conversation with Paul Riccardi and our new Willett principal, interim Willett principal, and we're going to discuss the pickup and drop-off routines. This Friday on 9/11, I have that's a very same meeting with Head Start regarding pickup and drop-off procedures, so that we make sure that all of us are working together and in line and safe for the various groups of kids that are going to be at the Savage Center. I'm still in the process of mapping out routines with our principals. I've spoken to everyone except for Diane, and we have our conversation taking place this Monday. And then from there, I'll be going to each of the sites and really looking at the nitty-gritty details of how we're going to operate within the building and who we're going to station where. I'm also planning on putting together a draft of our, sorry about that misspelling on verifying, putting together a draft of what our procedures are going to be for Ms. Reese at the town hall, so she can just sort of double check, verify, and approve that what we plan to do at each of the schools is in accordance to safety guidelines and also under DESE protocol as well. We are in the process of making sure that we're securing staff at all locations. I sent out a survey to all of our teachers to get an idea of who's looking at coming back and where and when. A lot has changed, as we mentioned before, since June, and so staff have different expectations. Some of their roles have changed this year. Some of them may be moving on to other districts, and so, or other positions in general. So at this present time, we're just about closing out our outlook for what our staffing is going to be and getting a good assessment of our needs. We also, pending approval, we have to register and verify our enrollment for all of our grades. So one of the things that I'm working with the principals on as well is getting a list of their remote learning academy students. Once I have those lists, and I have a couple of them, I need a couple more, then we can automatically remove some of the students who are on our previous registration for March. So we know really who is only eligible for registration once it does open. We also have to reorganize the Savage Center, so we need to make sure that we have appropriate leveled tables and chairs for our younger kids and our older kids in the same, since we're grouping them by Balch, Callahan, Cleveland, we need to make sure that we can accommodate first graders and fifth graders in the same room, and also make sure that there's some divisions so that they're grouped age appropriately. So the Savage Center reorganization really has to do with taking the existing tables, chairs, et cetera, infrastructure, and moving them to the appropriate locations to accommodate the different age groups within each classroom. And then we also have to register our program. If we are a go, we have to register our program as an approved remote learning center for EEC. That's another sort of supervisory agency for our program. And so I would just need to log in and make sure that I provide the right criteria for our program and make sure that EEC has that information and they have us on file as a remote learning center for the town of Norwood. So that is everything on the presentation. And I'm going to leave it up actually. So if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to go back to other slides, or if you would prefer, I can bring the presentation down and just answer your questions without the screen.
Did anybody want to see us get the slide again, or is it okay for Chris to close it? I don't see any requests to see a slide, Chris, if you want to close it.
Okay, thank you. Flying blind out here. See if I can stop what I'm doing. Oh, make it easy.
Yep.
Okay, there we go. So please, let me answer any questions you may have, or let me collaboratively answer any questions you may have. I'll probably have to defer to Dave and Karen on some items, Dr. Thompson, pardon me, and happy to address. Sometimes it's DT. So please, anyone, if you have questions or have concerns or want me to take a second look at something.
Questions, comments from the committee? Joan?
Why is there a rate increase and a $5 a day PPE? Why isn't that 75 cents an hour just rolled into the PPE fee?
I mean, it very well could be. It's 6 1/2 dozen and another, because we needed to add that to the tuition in order to offset, whether that was on the PPE end of things or on the hourly rate end of things, I mean, essentially you could roll the rate in the PPP and PPE in together and just have the total be, you know, $725 or $675 or whatever that total is, because it is a per day cost.
I would feel a lot more comfortable if we separated out what the rate is, which is what we just voted on, was that it all blurs together, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, because a rate is a standing rate that you go for the year. Whereas,
Right.
again, when the COVID vaccine magically happens in January, you know, which we all know that I'm rooting for, we could eliminate very easily the PPE rate. And I just feel like that's a
Yes,
more
yeah.
accurate representation
Yeah.
based on your presentation that extra 75 cents an hour is actually related to COVID. So I'd be much more
I
comfortable
think that
having
makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I'd be much more comfortable having those two things separated out.
Okay, yeah, I mean, absolutely, we can do that.
The way that, I mean, we could change it, but the PPE is referring to the $5 a day per child. So I mean, we could change it, like you're saying, is the COVID rate. It's going to be $5, and the additional is the COVID. But that's what that was indicating, the $5 per day per child.
Well, what I'm saying is that the need for the rate increase appears to be related to COVID-related expenses, which PPE would be part of. So I would like to see the rate stay separate from the expenses related to COVID.
That makes sense.
So somebody
That makes sense.
Somebody check my math here, but what you're saying, Joan, then instead of saying an additional 75 cents an hour, add the $5.25 to the $5 PPE fee for the remote learning days. But then the after school program would be an additional $1.50 in PPE.
Right. I cannot follow that math. That does not mean it's not right.
And
My point is
I'm thinking about this.
Yeah, I can give you an idea.
my
if you want.
point is we approved a $5 tuition rate about
Right,
6 or 8 weeks
yeah,
ago.
yeah.
So any
That makes
additional
sense.
cost onto that should be a separate fee structured in the same way as that $5 a day PPE fee. So whether
Right.
that goes up to $7 a day for a PPE for a COVID fee or $10 a day for a COVID fee, the tuition rate per hour stays the same.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think we can do that.
It's a semantics issue. It's not talking
Yeah.
about reducing the amount of money that they're looking to bring in. For me, it doesn't feel right to approve a rate increase when all of that
Yes.
extra money is not going towards the rate. Because again, when the vaccine happens in January, we go back to our regular rate, our regular tuition.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yep.
So January's too late for me.
Yep.
So that makes sense, and we can make those budgetary changes. That makes sense. And so it is 5 for the remote learning days. It's actually only $250 for the. I mean, it's an obvious difference. You know, we're talking about a considerable difference in the number of hours per day. So, and yes, that change makes perfect sense. Anyone else?
Further questions, comments? Yeah,
I have.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. It's more of a comment. Based on the public forum letter we got today and public forum letters we've gotten in the past and things I've seen on social media, I feel like there's a lot of confusion about what the school committee's role is and what the relationship is between extended day and Norwood Public Schools. And I just wanted to clarify a little bit. The extended day program is a standalone program that is self-funding. It has always been self-funding, with the exception of back in the spring, town meeting voted to bail the extended day program out a little bit because of the absolutely unforeseen and unprecedented expenses related to, the global pandemic that started
COVID,
in the summer. So this program has always been self-funding. It is not actually up to the school committee to set the calendar for the extended day. So there were people writing to us asking us to extend the summer program. That's not our decision. Our role in this is just we have to vote on fees. because
Right.
we vote on any fee that is charged in the name of Norwood Public Schools. We vote on lunch fees. We don't really control the lunch program. In the same way we vote on extended day fees,
Right.
we don't control the extended day program. There were a lot of issues that needed to be resolved in order for the extended day program to figure out how to run. And I appreciate all the effort you've gone into to do this. But I just want everybody to understand that this was never waiting for school committee approval of the program. We are not deciding if the program is safe to run. That is most definitely not our role. I would
Right.
never try to step on the toes of DESE and EEC and Segal Reese. That is not what we do. We are simply looking at fees. And in terms of the fact that this program is self-funding, Norwood Extended Day does pay rent to the Norwood Public Schools, but that is not at a similar level to rents that we charge for outside agencies. For example, for a long time, there was an unemployment office that maintained space at the Savage Center. They were charged like a commercial rate rent.
Right.
That is not what Extended Day pays. However, Extended Day has always been expected to have a rent that's large enough to cover the additional costs that the school district incurs by having an Extended Day there. There's additional custodians, there's additional utility fees, and Extended Day uses the services of the business office and other parts of the central administration, and so the buses, things like that. So those costs need to be covered because the Extended Day program is not subsidized. And if the school committee, we can do what we can to try to advocate for more funding from different sources. We can help in some ways, sometimes with grants or something like that, if we need to like sign off on a grant or things like that. But the only money that we have as a school committee is money that is designed to educate our children, and we are not going to take the money that is set aside for us to do the basic education of our 3,500 students and use that to subsidize Extended Day. So all we're doing today is just voting on fees. And I just want everybody to kind of have a better sense of how this all works. I think it is confusing because we have had presentations, and some of these presentations, it's been very informative. And I think some of the idea behind some of these presentations was to have a platform to give the community some information. But a lot of the details that are presented here are presented for informational purposes and to explain and justify why the fees should be what they are. But it is not that we get to decide how many students are going to be in a classroom. That's not our decision. All we can do is, in the end, approve the fees.
Thank you, Maya, for clarifying that, because I agree there's been a lot of confusion in the community. Dr. Thompson?
Yeah, and I want the community to realize that this has been on the docket to get done. We've got a lot of work to do. We did not hire extra people to do 3 years worth of extra work in 3 months. We are looking to get this program up. We are looking to constantly assess it, but it is something that our community and our families need. We are concerned with our social distancing and the inability to have the numbers we had before. Part of the reason for using all the elementary schools on the afternoons for the cohorts is to try to maximize, what we were doing. We were not originally looking at running something for the remote days, but that's the only way we can do it because other buildings were occupied by the other half of the other cohorts. So we are looking to try to assist families in this difficult time. I fear, and you've heard me say it several times. We because of making safety the number one priority, are not really able to meet all the needs we used to meet prior to having to do social distancing. I think the community needs to understand that, and I am sorry we are in that situation, but I'm not sorry, and that I'm not willing to undermine the safety of my students, the staff, and ultimately this entire community. I just can't do that and sleep at least half the night. So that's where we are. We're doing the best we can under very difficult circumstances. So appreciate everybody's patience.
Yeah. Just to build briefly on both that and Maya, what you said, and Chris, on what you shared in this presentation, this has been a very collaborative effort, though, to get this up and running. And
Yeah.
I think, Ms. Capizio, you already identified many of the players in your presentation, but we have continued to work very closely with Segal Reef for Extended Day, as well as the summer program that we ran, as well as our school system. So the health and safety that always is run through the health department. And as Maya mentioned, that is not something we're seeking to overrule in any way. We know who the experts are and we go to them. And Paul Riccardi is an expert in facilities, which is why he was brought in on this. The principals obviously have a very important role, and Ms. Capizio is working very closely to them. Ms. Sheridan has been working tirelessly, Dr. Thompson,
Yeah.
and our town manager. And, you know, I don't think any of us want to increase fees, but the situation is what it is. And we are advocating for additional funding. We did work on the advocacy letter to the EEC. We are looking at additional resources. We are partnering with the town through some of their COVID funds to cover the custodial costs, which can be covered under that. So we are doing everything we can to support our community. And as Dr. Thompson said, meet as much need as we safely can in this pandemic situation.
Absolutely.
But are there other questions, comments at this time before we vote on the increase in fee, which I think we're looking at restructuring how we do that. Sherry, can you verify for me? So instead of looking at it as a 75 cent increase per hour, if we approach it in the way that Joan asked for, more just a COVID fee, am I correct that we're now looking at, with the $5 PPE fee already, we're looking at $10.25 per day PPE fee for the remote learning and $6.50 per day for the PPE fee for after school care? Oh, you're muted, Karen.
I'm sorry, I'm just looking at it right now, sorry.
That's okay.
It's 7 hours per day.
Right.
I would say yes.
Okay. So what we need a motion for is the approval for a PPE fee specific to the COVID situation that we're in from now through December, because we're going to reassess in
Right.
December, now through December, of $10.25 for a remote learning day and $6.50 for an after school day. Somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye. All right, unanimous. Ms. Capizio, thank you for all your work. I know it's not over. I know here.
Okay, that's it. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. Does Maya have a question?
Nope, I think you're good.
Is she frozen? Oh, okay. All right. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, so moving right along on the agenda, we are now to Dr. Thompson's update, reopening plan and update.
Yes, so let me first bring up my slides and kind of find that is a little easier. Oh, I'm in the wrong place. A little easier to everyone to follow. All right, so here we go. School reopening update number 6. Okay, so starting off, on this update, I do want to kind of go back and go over. We did have a positive case come to our attention the end of the last week at the extended day. We'll talk about staffing and where we are in the progress of that. I'm going to turn it over for Dr. Wyatt to talk about our PD work, those 10 additional days that we had to prepare for our new normal in our schools. Talk a little about teacher assignments and when families will hear about that. Look very briefly again at the staggered start. Talk briefly as a reminder on transportation, and then revisit next steps. So first, we'll talk about me go back. We'll talk about the positive case. We did have notice that we had a staff member test positive. And just so everyone out there knows, and the chair, Stewart, referred to this just a second ago, we've worked very closely with the Norwood Board of Health and the director, Sigal Reese, and putting together protocols on what to do if there is a positive case. That actually was sent out as a press release and is currently on our webpage if people would like to follow along. But basically, we start by notifying the Board of Health. They start an investigation. From that investigation, they tell, decide whether it's a close contact, whether quarantining needs to happen, whether more testing needs to happen, and we follow their lead. So we cooperate with them. We involve, in most cases, this was a Friday, we involve school nurses, we involve buildings and grounds. Because this case was discovered prior to a long weekend, the deep cleaning happened during a weekend. We did not need to close the site in order to do that. We did have more than 24, 48 hours to do that process, so we were able to start as regular on Tuesday. But I do not want anyone out there to think that we cut a corner, that we didn't follow the protocols that we had worked so hard to establish. They were followed. There was a couple tripping points and communication issues, mainly around people being away for the 3-day weekend, but those were followed. Actually, it was determined that this was not a close case because the safety protocols of masks and distances and not being within someone's space, personal space inside the bubble, as we call it, for extended period of times, that there was not close contact between the staff member and other people in that environment. So I just wanted to kind of review that, let people know where to go to find. There is a flow chart that goes through what the process is. We are following science. We are following the best people in public health, directing us on how to deal with these cases proactively and safely, and we will continue to do so. I know people have a lot of opinions. I know that people, have seen things. I mean, I think that this has evolved over time, but this is how we're being told with the strictest protocols on how to deal with it. So I just want to go back and stress that with people. So with that, we'll go over to staffing. So at this point, all the positions are posted that are open. Most of the positions for the hybrid model, for our in-person cohort model, are filled. We have a couple paraprofessional positions that we're still looking to fill. 1 or 2 teaching positions, but most are filled. The Remote Learning Academy interviews will be starting, I believe, tomorrow and Friday to fill those positions. And the hiring is on a fast-track process. We're not necessarily cutting corners, but we're making sure the steps are there to ensure we're getting quality people, but also to make sure that we're being efficient with that. It's not a lot of lead time between when we identify a quality candidate and when we try to get them to sign on the dotted line. There still are many needs. Please check School Spring, and we are always looking at especially professionals as we go forward. So I want to turn it quickly over to Dr. Wyeth, if you can kind of chime in on the 10 days that we are using for professional development for our teachers and staff.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I wanted to just sort of quickly go over the 11 days actually that we have prior to the opening of school, just to make sure you know what work has gone into preparing for the opening. And so on the first day, which was the 31st, we obviously had Jill Driscoll did a presentation to all faculty around health protocols. And then that was followed up by our some clarification questions and answers by the school nurses. And that was followed up in the afternoon with some mandatory trainings, which are part of the opening of school, no matter what, the civil rights laws and mandated reporting, and et cetera. So that was day one, a lot of just sort of grounding in some of the fundamentals. Day 2 was dedicated to curriculum planning and reporting out from the various curriculum committees that worked over the summer. That was really most of the morning, and then in the afternoon as well, but there was a student services meeting built into the afternoon on the 1st as well. 9/2 was largely a technology training day, and for both, across the system. And I'd like to take this opportunity to really thank several people who stepped up and led some of those training sessions for our staff. At the elementary level, it's Jill Rathier, Maura Bellinger, Elizabeth Goldberg, Donna Miller, Molly Cotter, and Sadie Bishop and Sue Kilduff. In addition to those teachers, our 2 curriculum coordinators, Stephanie West and Jill Milton, did a phenomenal job helping organize that training, full day of training, and also delivering some training themselves. So I can't thank them enough for all the work they put into making that day a very successful day for our staff. The principals were pleased with what they heard from the teachers about the value of that day. And thank you to them. At the secondary level, similarly, we had several teachers step up at the middle and high school level to provide specific training on specific tools for their colleagues. Bethany Duca Johnson, Carrie Silva, Sue Ryan, Stephanie Panico, Elizabeth Goldberg, Jason Andrews, and Delstead. Laura Mullen ran several workshops on various things, Pear Deck, how to translate information for kids, etc. And leading that charge was Christina Serratus. And so I want to thank them as well for the wonderful work they did for our 612 teachers on 9/2. So I think we have a lot to be proud of in terms of our staff stepping up. I should also add that we brought in some outside trainers from EdTech Teacher. Those trainings were very well received on Google Classroom, and from the Center for Educational Services, CES, and MassQ were some of our outside trainers that sort of enriched the whole program. All of these training sessions have been recorded, and so they're available to staff to, if they couldn't attend a workshop because they just had conflicts with other workshops, they can go back and see some of that work that was done by other trainers. That's all in a folder that people can access anytime. And so that's 9/3. We were back to basically our school-based agendas where principals covered a lot of logistics, protocols, schedules, setting expectations and routines for kids. And then student services again had another meeting with Jill Driscoll and some of the grade level teams. On day 5, 9/8, excuse me, MyView training was done with Stephanie West and Pearson trainers. That was a full day training for our new elementary ELA program. And then on the secondary side, there were department meetings, again, preparing for, getting ready for the opening of school and sharing out the curriculum work over the summer. The nurses had CPR training, and on Wednesday, 9/9, we had follow-up training at the elementary level for MyView and various technology trainings again at the secondary level. So if people couldn't attend some of the sessions on 9/2, they had an opportunity to pick up some of those sessions on 9/9. And there was, in the afternoon, there was more grade level curriculum planning, common planning time for the elementary level. 9/10, which is tomorrow, there'll be some more MyView digital focus webinars for the elementary staff to make sure they've got that program sort of under control for the opening of school. And there'll be related service providers scheduling. This is a mandate from the state, along with additional special ed learning plan work that has to be done across the board in terms of sort of updating students' IEPs with new forms that the state expect us to turn in. More common planning at the secondary level. And then 9/11, we've got mystery science training coming up for the elementary staff. This is a science program that we'll be using. It's all online, and our science teachers will be leading that training on 9/11. There'll be additional seesaw training at the elementary level. And in the afternoon, there'll be time for teachers to do some classroom setup and more time for the special ed department to work on their learning plans. And then 9/14 is convocation. We're looking forward to having a World Savvy speaker address us around issues of cultural proficiency. And there'll be some follow-up conversations, and then some more school-based work in the afternoon. And then 9:15, we'll have a speaker on strategies for creating trauma-sensitive classrooms for the district. And again, some follow-up conversations around that. And in the afternoon, more special ed learning plan work and time for teachers to set up for the opening of school. And then the last day is 9/16, and that is all sort of teacher common planning time and sort of last minute, we're working through last minute details. So that's it in a nutshell. And I just wanted to say I'm really grateful to the principals for their leadership in structuring these days, and for all the staff who stepped up to sort of lead their colleagues and help prepare them. It's a lot of good work. Any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Wyeth at this time? No? Thank you, Dr. Wyeth.
Wait a minute, I'm sorry. I forgot, obviously, probably the most singular important person behind all of this professional development work. It's written on my page here in big letters, Joe Kidd and his staff. None of us, principals, Dave, me, Lori, anybody can say enough about Joe Kidd and his staff. They have done just remarkable work. Day and night, they're solving problems, working through details, and I can't say how lucky we are to have them on staff. They're truly remarkable.
Thank you, Dr. Wyeth. I think the school committee agrees with that as well. So we'll join in on your praise of Joe Kidd and his team. But thank you also for all this work, Dr. Wyeth, on the professional development. I know a lot goes into this and that you really lead this initiative. So thank you.
Okay, so I just want to go back and practice and revisit the staggered start. And again, so all students except kindergarten will start remote until the in-person hybrid days begin. Remote Learning Academy begins, and the remote aspect of our regular, hybrid model begins on the 17th. The 17th to the 22nd, the kindergarten screening is going to happen at the Willett, and that will be scheduled between 8:30 and 3 o'clock. And again, those will be scheduled appointments to reduce traffic in and out. Thursday, September 17th, cohort F, or the students who are high needs, and these are students who are in our sub-separate programs, will start their 4 days in person on that Thursday, the 17th. All their students in grade 1 through 12 begin remote learning. On Monday, the 21st, the transition grades, and we've identified those as grades 1 and 2 at the elementary level, 6 at the middle school, and 9 at the high school will start hybrid in person. All other students will continue in the remote mode. On Thursday, the 24th, the kindergarten gold cohort will start in person. That's the Thursday, Friday. The blue cohort, Monday, Tuesday, will start the following Monday. On Monday, the 28th, the remaining grades will all start the hybrid in-person cohort. So this is our plan, and it is contingent upon staffing. I'm hopeful. I have, everybody is working and pulling in one direction to get our staff on board and onboard them quickly. that if we are unable or fall short on that, we might have to push a few of these dates out back, but that is our plan going forward. And just to remind everybody that it is a pretty aggressive stagger into getting our kids, into the in-person mode as fast as possible. And again, so what does this mean for families? Most students will start on the 28th. We will need to get materials out to families. That has already began. We need to collect Chromebooks that were loaned during the spring, kind of in haste. We need to clean those up and get them back out. So we need people to cooperate, do that exchange as part of that, because we are starting remote. We do have the challenge to get learning materials out to students as they will start at home. And as I mentioned before, the staffing levels to ensure that we're able to do all of these aspects at once might cause a change in dates. Transportation, we are still finalizing the routes. It is a good amount of work. And these routes will, again, very likely might change slightly, so you do need to pay attention when they are posted. New requests to ride are being placed on a wait list. We will re-examine that after school begins. We will have assigned seats, but we expect that those bus routes will probably be out a week from Friday. And again, most school transportation is not going to start for the 21st, so we do have a little bit of extra time in here. All right, so next steps, obviously, job one is to complete the hiring. Teacher assignments, what kids are with what teachers are being finalized right now. Those will start going out on Thursday. Between Thursday and Monday, you should hear from your schools who your teachers are. The one exception to that might be the Remote Learning Academy, where we're still hiring several of those teachers. That might have to wait a little bit longer, but those in the hybrid should know definitely by Monday who their teachers are, if not before. Buildings are conducting webinars for families right now, putting together slideshows and recording over them and playing those for families. This is important. If you cannot view it live, make sure you view the recording, simply because we are changing how people are coming to and from our school building. So please look for those and participate in those. Entry and dismissal schedules and building procedures are going to change. And again, the focus is to ensure the distancing, the safety, spread kids out. We are not going to have all the kids come in through one or two doors. They're going to be using multiple doors. So it's important that you follow along and see what these new procedures are. They will be drastically different than they had been in the past. The bus assignments, and again, late next week, probably the 18th or so, we expect those to go out. Again, the 17th and 18th, most of those students are driven with our special ed transportation, not on regular buses. Okay, so in closing, again, I say this all the time, the situation is fluid. It is a difficult process. We're working as fast as we can. We do appreciate everyone's patience. And if people, one of the questions I constantly get is why do we need more staffing? And to put it simply, more staff is needed to socially distance in the classroom and to instruct remotely at the same time. So if we only have half the kids in the classroom and the other kids having to be with teachers remotely at the same time, that in itself causes the need for more staff, let alone those that are in the remote-only academy. And the reality is, and I've said this several times, that this is the world's biggest unfunded mandate to operate a remote learning academy, to distance and do it safely. The staff increase there without considerable money from the state or federal government to do that. It definitely is an unfunded mandate. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I don't know if anyone in the committee has any particular questions that you would like me to answer at this time. But the other thing I'm looking at, and every time I try to plan another Facebook Live, my day gets packed full. But I am hoping that next week I will be able to do a Facebook Live, hopefully on the 15th, but that probably will not be scheduled till tomorrow or Friday. But just to be able to answer questions for families, and again, keep that communication open. I did plan to try to do it last Tuesday, but then my day got filled with meetings, and this has been rather difficult. So hopefully next Tuesday we'll be able to do that as well.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. Questions, comments from the committee at this time?
Okay. The other thing that's on my agenda is, as many of you know, we have met with Union 50, which represents our paraprofessionals, our service providers, occupational therapy, physical therapy, and I believe Title I teachers. And we do have a memorandum of understanding to vote on to address some of the working conditions that have changed in our new COVID non-normal. So I don't know how you would like to proceed with that, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson. So the MOU is in our packets. Committee has had a chance to review that. Is there a motion to approve that MOU with Union 50?
So moved.
Thank you, Maya. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you, Dave. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Dr. Thompson, do you have anything else under your lead agenda or report for us this evening?
No, I do not, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. So moving right along to budget, we do have a requested position from Ms. Amino. Is she still here with us in this meeting?
She is.
Sorry. So in the packet for the committee, you do have a memo from Ms. Amino as well as a job description describing the position that we're looking to add. It is an interim assistant student services director position, which I think is one of the longest titles ever. But Ms. Amino, is there anything that you would like to share with the committee and the community about your requests this evening?
Sure. So going into the 2021 school year budget planning, we had been discussing a reorganization to the Student Services Department to begin with. Then when the pandemic hit, we kind of had put that on the back burner because our attention was focused on many other things at the time. As we have gotten closer to the school year and our conversations have been engaged both with teachers and the union around the MOU and the increase in the amount of sort of guidance that has been provided to us around how we are to practice this year, it has become clear that our capacity to appropriately support families and students and staff and all that needs to get done this year we won't be able to do it at the level we would like to with just me at the help. So we are requesting that for this year, there be an interim assistant director to help us bridge that gap to the point where we're hopefully able to return to what we are ultimately would like to see the path forward as the restructure for the department.
Thank you, Ms. Amino. Questions from the committee on this request? Oh, Dave Catania, you're mute.
Sorry, I'm just saying to myself, it's you need some help. I'm all for it.
Maya?
Ms. Amino, did you have some recommendations for funding source for this?
Yes. So there was a position within the FY21 budget that we did not need to fulfill given student situations changing. So we are looking to reallocate that funding source, as well as there were funds that were remaining from the ESY budget that we would like to as well combine together, as this is a Unit B position. We would like to add those two because the position is a Unit A that was left over in the budget. So this would bring it into the Unit B category range.
So what you're proposing is sort of FTE neutral because it's a swap, and in some ways budget neutral because you are taking salary that was allocated for something else and some money from the summer program and preparing that as a fund.
Correct.
I think that sounds like a great plan.
Any other questions for Ms. Amino at this time? Is there a motion to approve this position?
I will make a motion to approve the position.
Thank you, Joan. Is there a second?
Second it.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda under budget, we do have a brief budget subcommittee update for you. Maev and Dr. Thompson and Haley and Ms. Sheridan and I met just a few hours ago earlier today as a budget subcommittee. And Maev, would you like to guide us through this discussion?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we wanted to make sure we were clear on, and maybe this is something that the school committee ought to vote on. We mentioned it briefly last time that when town meeting approved our budget back in June, there was a caveat in the motion that approved the budget that said that $300,000 of our budget should not be expensed or encumbered prior to December 1, I believe was the date. And so we need to, we never really formally took a vote on what $300,000 would not be spent right now. And so the budget subcommittee discussed that a little bit today. We had discussed it in the past, but we realized we had not brought this to the full committee. So the proposal would be the money that we had planned to spend on ESS, which stands for Essential Student
School Solutions. Yep.
Okay, School Solutions. Thank you. That was the mental health consultant program that we had planned to bring into the high school, and it's definitely something I believe the student services department is still interested in the future, but given all things that were going on with the pandemic and things like that, that wasn't something that we could move forward with today. So Effective School Solutions was in our budget. It was actually part of the SOA plan, but it was part of our overall budget in the amount of $232,688. So that's something that the administration is not moving forward with at the time. So it's definitely something that makes sense to hold back. The another thing that was in the Student Opportunity Act plan was mental health interventionist for $57,312, and that will be served this year instead of as an additional hire, but as a service that we're planning to contract with, and that would be in one of our grants. So that is not that's another $57,312, and so then that just leaves us another $10,000 that we would need to eliminate from our budget if we want to, or not eliminate from our budget, sort of press pause, whatever we want to call it, or put it on hold until at least December 1st. And we would recommend that we pull that $10,000 from money that would have been set aside for the late bus at the middle school. The middle school will not be running after school programs this year, and due to COVID, not due to budget reasons. And I don't remember the exact number for the CMS late bus, but I remember when we were talking about the override, it was more than $30,000. So there's definitely at least $10,000 that we could set aside there. So the recommendation from the budget subcommittee is $232,688 that was originally allocated to Effective School Solutions, $57,312 that was originally allocated for a mental health interventionist, and $10,000 from the CMS late bus.
Thank you, Maev. Questions, comments from the committee? No? Is there a motion to approve that these are the three areas that we are going to wait on spending until December 1st?
So moved.
Oh, Joan's hand went up and Dave said so moved. So I heard Dave. So Dave made the motion. Joan, will you second that?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Thank you. I believe, Maya, that was the update from today, right? There wasn't anything else that we needed to bring forward at this time. Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving right along, we don't have any old business this evening. We don't have any new business this evening, but we do have one policy that we wanted to discuss with the committee. So in your packets, you will see policy JCA, which is the assignment of students to school. 2 meetings ago, Ms. Mino and I had shared with you the interim COVID policy that was put out through the MASC. We voted on that. And the JCA was one of like 33 policies referenced in that one. And it was one of 11 policies that Ms. Mino identified as, even before the interim COVID policy was not updated like it should have been. So our last version of the JCA policy in our current manual is from 2003. And the MASC actually updated this policy in both 2016 and in 2019. So in front of you, you have the edited version, and I really do thank Ms. Mino because that she put together for us this evening. You can see in red the additions that we're recommending in the policy, and then you can also see a couple removal of language. I believe, and Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that the majority of this language does come from the updated MASC policies, with the exception of number 5 that you'll see in red. We added that one in, and I'll just read it so everybody knows what we're discussing. So number 5 says, for the 2020-2021 school year, if a student chooses to return from Remote Learning Academy, RLA, to the hybrid learning model, and space does not currently exist within their attendance area school. So that references that above, that Dr. Thompson has the ability to move that student if necessary. And then we also added, this will be a temporary assignment through the end of this school year only. And this clause is actually already implied in the COVID interim policy that we already approved. But we thought that it might be helpful to have it very clearly stated for this school year. But Ms. Mino, am I missing anything in the overview of this policy?
Nope. We just the pieces that that were added came from other other districts' policies around the same topic that were on the MASC approved list,
Right.
that we felt were pertinent to Norm.
Yeah, and in alignment with the changes that MASC made since 2003 that Laura never did. But questions, comments on the draft policy in front of you? Okay, so since this is a current policy, we do only have to vote on it once. So if we vote on it tonight, it does become effective as of tonight, September 9th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve JCA, assignment of students to schools, with the revisions in your packet? Dave?
Yeah, everything makes sense. I move to approve it.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Joan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, 5-0. All right. So, Dr. Thompson, will you ask Priscilla to get that in our packet, or not our packet, our policy manual, and put it up on the website so the community knows the revisions?
Will do.
Thank you. Okay. There are no donations that I see in our packet this evening. So that does mean we are at the point of our meeting for school committee addenda. Joan, did you have anything this evening?
I have no addenda this evening.
Thank you. Anne-Marie?
Nothing for me.
Okay. Dave Catania?
Nothing as well, thank you.
All right. Maya?
Since this is the last meeting before our school year starts for our students, I just wanted to thank everyone, the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the custodians, the food service workers, anybody else that I've forgotten, and most especially all of the administrators who have been working tirelessly trying to reimagine everything about education and get it all in a form that's going to be beneficial for our students. And I appreciate their efforts, and I want to thank everybody and wish everyone a really great new school year.
Thank you, Maya. I would just build on that to add that to all of us, whether we're parents or staff or combination of both, or students, if you're watching this. It's been a hard year. I think it's going to continue to be a challenging year, but I do really believe in having a growth mindset, and I do try to foster in myself and others resiliency. So as hard as all of this is, I do think that there are wonderful opportunities in the challenges. And I think Joan is laughing at me as I say this, but she's muted, so that's okay. But I do think that even though things are going to continue to be challenging, and there's a lot for us to continue to figure out, if we stay open to learning, there is a lot to learn and a lot of growth to occur. But thank you for everybody, and we will continue to work together as best as we can as school committee, administrators, community, staff, parents, to make the school year as safe and as educationally appropriate as we can for our students. So it is 8:20, which I think is even a few minutes quicker than our meeting last week. We've been very effective this evening, but we do have to go back into executive session that we started before this business meeting. I don't anticipate being there too long, but we do have some important topics to finish up. So I do need a motion to go. Oh, Dave, did you have a comment?
If we have meetings every week, it's half as much work, you know. We should
No, I'm not scheduling a meeting for next Wednesday. That's why I'm turning my phone off next Wednesday. Don't call me.
Okay. If there's no meeting next week, I move that we move to executive session.
We have been having weekly meetings for quite some time, so don't be offended. Am I saying no? I'm not scheduling a meeting for next Wednesday. But I do need a motion to go into executive session. We will only return for the point of adjournment. Is there a motion to do so?
So moved.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Anne-Marie. I do have to pull everybody individually. So Anne-Marie,
Yes.
Dave, Tanya,
Yes.
Joan,
Yes.
Maya,
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So I will see everybody in executive session. And to the community, we will be back not next week, but the week after on Wednesday, September 23rd. Stay safe, wear your masks, and take care.